share of laughter through the pain. But look at us now, on a Sunday time. Have we seen our finest hour? Good times surely will come. All I know is people talk without listening. What I'm saying is life's too short to live in these extremes. Have we seen our finest hour? Good times surely will come. And all through the night I wondered and waited.
Say fake news. Boston wrestling is fake news.
Divided we fall to wait here for you, holding it together, just like a desert flower, waiting on the rain to come. And all I know is anger, lies, confusion. And what I'm saying is you don't realize what this means. Have we seen our finest hour? Good times surely will come. Just like a desert flower, waiting on the rain to come.
There you go. Hello, everybody. You see me with my spectacles on because I was reading some of my notes because I didn't want to leave out anything that there was a lot of things I wanted to tell y'all the last time that I was on. So I put my glasses on so that I could understand what the hell I'm talking about because y'all know totally I get up talking about the moon and end up talking about the sun by the time the end of the day. But anyway, my childhood, I don't want nobody to think that I had a bad childhood. In fact, I believe I had a pretty good childhood because in America, we learned very, very on that each American got to pull themselves by his bootstrap. It don't mean that we don't help those that need help. It don't mean that we are selfish. It just means that we got what we call American pride. At American pride, when I was young, if I took pride in the work I did. If I trim your hedges, I want to do the best possible job as I can. And I want you to go around town and brag about it and say, hey, you got to get that Tony to do your hedges. He's good at it. Look how beautiful. Look at the work he did. Look at the effort time he put into it. So it's called American pride. So I'm very proud to be in America. And like part one of this segment of my childhood and my upbringing, I want to start this segment off the same way that I started the last segment off. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, a lot of people ask me all the time. I'm gonna leave my glasses on. I can see me. I can see me right up there.
The only problem is we get some glare on your eyes. So
well, that's okay. At least I can see.
All right. Good.
See, there's no glare if I do that.
There you go.
It's glare when I do this.
There.
Like I'm looking at the light. Look at the glare.
Yeah.
Like a Martian, huh? A spaceman. You know I'm not all there. So if y'all looking for somebody that is sane, you look at that guy that been pushing the creek when he was 6 years old and bust his head wide open by Jerry Hayes. You look at that that been in over 50 fist fights in his life. It was like a fist fight a year when you look at all my years. And I did all 50 fist fights pretty much before I was 20 years old. In fact, wrestling kept me all the fights. Because a guy told me one time, I said, Tony, since you like to fight so much, I said, who told you I like to fight? He said, well, you always in fights. I said, somebody always messing with me. So, you have to defend yourself. I didn't have a father to defend me. My mother worked all the time. My brother, all they did was play cheerleader. Get him, get him. That's the help I got from my brother. Get him, get him, get him. Thank you. And then, like one of my brothers would always say, I got your back. Which means... I got your back.
In the back.
Yeah, I'm in the back. Okay. Yeah. But anyway, I want to tell y'all a little bit more about how I grew up. You may not be interested, but I'm kind of not sad about living in poverty and having a rough life. In fact, I'm kind of, like I said, I'm kind of proud of it because it made me who I am. I don't complain much about things. I'm a very humble and I'm graceful. If someone do something for me, I always feel uh, gracious about it. I think it goes back to my mom. I remember one time I told my mom I want to buy a bike because all the kids had bicycles. So my mom said, okay, show me where it's at. So we went down to the Goodwill. And they had this old bike with the big fat tires and big, the fat back. But it was a girl's bike. But it was only $5. And I said, Mom, here's the bike. You only want $5. Mama said, okay. If you want that bike, I'll make a deal with you. You come up with half the money. I would give you the other half. I said, oh, well, that's not a good deal. So I went out and raked leaves, picked up pop bottles and cultivate field, clean out chicken coops, and whatever I can to make that $2.50. Finally, I got my $2.50. Because back in the old days, they didn't give kids money like they do now. You may work all day for someone, they give you a quarter. But for a kid, that was a lot of money back in the 50s and 60s. Today, a kid would probably throw it at you. But we were in a different environment. So I was so happy that I earned this $2.50. So my mother said, come on, boy. I gave my mother the money. She walks down to the Goodwill, and she had a little tag. And she gave the guy the tag, and the guy gave my mother the bike. But I didn't see no money at change. Later on, I found out why there was no money at change. My mother went on and paid for that bike, but she wasn't going to give it to me until I earned it. My wife now tell me, said, Tony, think about you got good work ethics. Whatever you install in a child when they're very, very young, we live with that child throughout his life. My mother taught me that nothing is free. Not even trouble. You got to pay. You're in trouble, you're going to pay. You pay with your freedom. You pay with your life. So nothing is free. So my mother taught me at a very, very age to learn uh, 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 to work for what I want. I wish I didn't have to. I'm like most people. I ain't all that excited about going to work, but I'm just so happy that I got that ability that is installed me that I could make myself an honest living without knocking somebody in the head and robbing them and doing something that's going to infringe on your freedom and your safety in a great country. We all should feel safe at home. We all should feel, like we can make a living without harming your neighbor. My mother said nothing wrong in life you do as long as it don't hurt nobody. So what you do, make sure you don't hurt nobody. But that was one of the lessons my mother taught me. You know something from that? I never asked my mother for another quarter. In fact, when she tried to give me money, I wouldn't take it because it made me appreciate my mother even more because I never realized how hard my mother worked for the money until I had to do it myself. And the sad thing about my upbringings of young people today, they don't get that experience at a young age. They 18, 19, or 20 before they learn that. I learned it at 5 or 6 that you have to work for what you want. When a child says, Mom, I want this, Mom, I want that, and you just give it, give it, give it, give it, give it, then the kid get older and still asking. But that kid, even at 18, 19, 20 years of age, have not learned how to get it himself. My mother, God bless her soul, protected me from that. That was one of the ways, it's nature for a mother to take her child out. You take a bear, deers, every animal, if you look at them, they take that child out and teach that child how to survive in a wilderness. We pamper our children, not all of us, but some of us, we pamper our children until we get tired of it, then we turn them loose. They don't know what the hell to do. 20 years of their life, all that, anything they want, just ask mom, just ask dad, ask and you shall receive. And so the kid, 20 years go by, this kid ain't used to doing nothing but asking. So When they got in the real world and they ask for something and don't get it, they have a tantrum and wonder why. But anyway, not to criticize nobody because I'm the last person on this planet to criticize anyone. And plus, in the Bible, it says, "Judge not, yet ye be judged." And I can't judge anybody. That's God uh, to judge us all. And I'm not God, so I'm not going to judge anybody on nothing. But anyway, getting back to my notes here, when I went to the reception and diagnostic center, what led up to that was, first of all, I got put on probation because my little brother Walter, who was very, very talented with automobile. I mean, ever since he was a kid, he just was real good with automobile. So one day, it was just a guy put this car in the shop. And I don't know if many of y'all remember this car. It was all over the 50s or 60s. And it was called a DeSoto. You know, you can look it up on the computer what a DeSoto look like. See, there was a lot of cars in America that's not being built no more, like Studebaker, DeSoto, Plymouth, and you know, this. We used to sit on the corner sometime and we said try to name what the car was before it get to us. You know, it was just fun thing to do. Now you see one car, they all look the same, but back in the old day, every car had a distinct look. When you saw a Buick, you knew it was a Buick. When you saw a Cadillac, you knew it was a Cadillac. You didn't have to go up and read the label. Now you got to read the label. Back then, every car had its own personality, kind of like the way wrestling was. Every wrestler had his own personality. Now you watch wrestling. If you watch one match, you see them all. All the matches are the same. They dress the same. They act the same. They talk the same. The same. The same. The same. The same. I'm going crazy myself here. But with back in the older days, everything was different. Everybody had their own wrestling personality. Every car had its own personality. But anyway, my brother stole this car, and when I saw it, in the yard, it was a convertible. It was black and white convertible, DeSoto. I don't know uh what year it was, but I would say DeSoto went out of business. Most people that know about cars would pretty much could tell me, could send a picture to me or Larry, and once I see the picture, I can tell you, yeah, that's it right there. But anyway, get back to my story. So I tried to return it because I didn't want my brother Walter. Because mother, when she left the house, she said, "Now you're in charge of him. Keep him out of trouble." That was my job, to keep Walter out of trouble, which was more than a handful, to say the least. I love him, but he's a tough SOB, still tough as nails. We call him Killer and we call him Wham. The Killer part I knew why, the Wham part I did not. But anyway, I'm trying to return this car. And somebody said, oh, I guess I always had an ego. I think I was starving for uh,
Attention.
attention. Yeah, Larry. Yeah, because, single kid. In a black neighborhood, you had to get a reputation. We're all poor, so everybody have to have something special in order to to fit into the neighborhood. So anyway, I'm returning this car, and I hear somebody say, "Hey, look, Tony's driving." And boy, I just stuck the chest out right there. So I'm trying to be cool now. I turned the wheel of the car. Now I didn't know because I never drove before. Once you get around the corner, you got to stop turning the wheel. So I kept turning this wheel, and the car kept going. There was a guy fixing a wall, and it had a big cement truck sitting there, and I hit that thing, ran the car into the wall, hit the cement truck. All the cement came down the stoop into the car. Now I'm covered with cement. My brother Walter, unfortunately, got a broken jaw from it because he was a passenger. I took off running to the park. So now the police come along looking for who was driving that car. And it, it shocked me when the cop came. They didn't talk to nobody else. They came straight to me. So I said, "Oh, somebody told on me. Who told on me?" I'm looking around. Somebody's a stooge. Who told on me? The cop said, "Were you driving that car?" Now we know you were. Now don't lie because it's gonna make it worse on you. I said, "Well, what make you think I stole the car?" He said, "First of all, From the waist down, you cover in cement. I got cement, from here down. And I go, oh, well, that, I guess you got me there. So he said, well, who was in the car with you and where the car come from? I wouldn't tell. So they put me on probation. A short time after that, my mother had a heart attack. And why, I don't know. Even though I was not the youngest, I was next to the youngest. My mother on the way to the hospital, she said, well, I want you to be in charge of things, Tony. You are the most responsible. That didn't last long, but at that time, I was very, very responsible because I knew I had to be responsible back in them days because our life depended on it. My mother didn't have anybody else to depend on. And when my mother asked somebody to do something, I wanted to be Johnny on the spot because she had nobody else to ask. She was on the way to the hospital. She had her first cardiac arrest. So anyway, uh, I went to school and everything, and I came back home, and this guy named Roger Vi, he probably about 6'5", 6'6", one of the best basketball players I've ever seen in my life. I mean, when people talk about Michael Jordan, I said they never saw Roger Vi play. I mean, they were like street ball, but this kid could hit from every time he shot, it went in. Him and another guy named Wayne Haller. Wayne Haller won the championship for Jefferson High School. Wayne Haller, these were just street play guys, but they were just almost freaking fantastic. But unfortunately, they just never got discovered. Uh, so anyway, Roger Vi came by the house, and they broke into this steakhouse they called the Black Angus, and they stole steak, lobster, and they stole Civil War guns. Guns that the guy that owned the place, his great great grandfather, whoever was in the Civil War, he had the guy uniform, he had all the stuff, had these muskets that were worth a lot of money, Civil War muskets. So the police was circling the neighborhood looking for these muskets. They wouldn't think about the stakes or anything. My brother Charles gonna kill me for saying this, but I put it in my book too. But it's funny. So the police knocked on. I was at school. The police knocked on the door. I went to Patrick Henry High School at time. Police knocked on the door. They said, we looking for who broke into the Black Angus Steakhouse, steak and lobster house. Well, it was steak and seafood. Wasn't steak lobster, steak and seafood. Charles came to the door. Now, this the ghettos now. We poor people. He had his breakfast. This is his breakfast. Scrambled eggs, lobster tails, and a porterhouse steak. The police said, damn, you work? Charles said, no, I don't work. Your mom work? Yeah, where she works? Work hotel Roanoke. She make a lot of money? No, not really. We poor. Said, you poor? Charles, yeah, we poor. So the police said, well, how in the world are you able to eat lobster and steak for breakfast? He said, I can't even afford to do that. And my brother Charles said, oh, well, we got a whole bunch of it. Come on, I'll show you. He let the police in the house. Police opened the refrigerator, had the lobsters and steaks, and it had the signal, where it was shipped to. The shipping thing is on that. So this is the food that came from the thing. So the police started taking the food out the refrigerator. Charles goes, hey, where you going with my food? He don't know. We kids. So I didn't take all the food out the refrigerator as evident. Charles going to take a bite of his egg. The police take the plate away. Can I finish my breakfast? And no, he said, it's all evident. He said, who's in charge of it? They said, where your mom? I said, my mom in the hospital in the hospital. He said, who your mom left in charge? So they said, we left Tony in charge. She said, where Tony? He said, he's at school now. He'll be home later because after school he got to go to wrestling practice. And then after wrestling practice, he go to the YMCA and he lift weights because he likes to lift them weights. So he won't be home until probably about 6 o'clock tonight. So sure enough, I came. The police were there. So they asked me, they said, look, we don't care about the food. That's all they showed. The guy said, if you guys was hungry, if you want the food, uh, he would have gave it to you if he knew y'all would need the food that bad. He said, "But we really want their muskets. Can you tell us where they're at?" Well, I had them hidden in the closet. So I took them to the house. I opened up the closet, and they took these Civil War musket. I don't know if y'all know what a musket is. You got to put the gun in all this stuff. From the Civil War. So he said, "Look, we know you have nothing to do with it because the referee for the wrestling was a policeman. So they pretty much knew me pretty well. They said, "We know what type of person you are. We know you keep yourself pretty clean, but we just want to know who did it." So I said, "I'm not going to tell you." They said, "Well, we could arrest you for what do you call it? Shoot, uh, possession of stolen merchandise. Possession of stolen merchandise." I said, "Well, I possessed it. It was stolen. I'm guilty." So then they sent me away to what's called the Reception and Diagnostic Center. But because I was a juvenile, you only had to spend 6 to 8 weeks. So I said, "Hey, I commit the crime. I let the guy put the stuff in." So I went there for 6 to 8 weeks. And they had different dormitories. They had what they call the big boy dormitory, the young boy dormitory, and a dormitory for the women. And they lock you up in different cells. Like if you were a pretty good guy, they put these guys. They try to match you up according to uh, where you were. Now, one thing that I did notice, I hope I don't get in trouble for saying this. There was a kid, and they called us all to the front desk, to the front of the building. They said there's somebody coming here that is different than all of y'all. But we want y'all to treat him the same as you would treat everybody else. Well, the kid come through the door. But he came through the door like this. I said, "Whoa, why is he walking like a girl?" And then they explained to me that he was gay. But they didn't use that term. I mean, the term was a lot. I'm not going to use the term, but the term was not, let's put it this way, was not a good term when they talked about it. Uh, it was an F word, so that's what they called him. He's this. I said, "Oh, I never saw anybody like that before." And so anyway, he was a nice guy. He tried to fit in the best that he could. We go to play baseball after we got through working, they run him away. He had to work in the house with the women because none of the guys wanted him around him. So one night, I couldn't sleep. I don't know why. I just woke up. And I'm the only one in my room. And they got bunk beds. I was on the top bunk. I had another guy on this bunk. There was a guy on the bunk over here, a guy on the bunk over here. So I'm like, where the hell did everybody's at? Due to the house mom and the house dad, they were asleep just like 12 o'clock at night. Because we went to bed at that time at, what was light out? I think it was 8 or 9 o'clock. All lights was out by 8 or 9 o'clock. Because you got to get up at 5 in the morning. So I saw all of them hanging around this kid's room. And they were all messing with him. And I said, "Oh, wow, I thought y'all didn't like him." They didn't like him in the daytime. But once the lights went out, he was the most popular guy in that freaking place. And I go, "Wow, they pick on this kid all the time. And then during the nighttime, they all poking him in the butt." And I said, "Well, ain't you gay?" Guy said, "Oh, no, as long as you're on top, you're not gay. You're with a man, and you're with a male." So. And that was the first time that I'd experienced that. And I experienced it at the Negro Baptist Children's Home. Guys would wait for the young kids to go in, they hold them down and pretty much, do stuff to them. People say, "Why you didn't do nothing?" Well, what the hell you expect me to do? They would have held me down and did it to me. So I wasn't gonna put myself in his spot. So we was kids. This is grown up as a child. Well, not for every child, but for this child. So uh, you couldn't get in no fights out there. But the good thing about the reception at Diagnostic Center, we went to do some work for somebody, and they had a bus, like a school bus, going to take us uh, back to the center. And with this set of weights out there, and I saw them weights for the first time in my life. I saw these weights, so I said, "Wow, what is them?" So one of the older kids said, them are weights. He said, that's what them guys lift to make their muscle big. I said, oh yeah. He said, yeah, you lift them things to make you strong. I go, wow. So I jumped off the bus. I remember running over there. I grabbed that weight and I lifted it up over my head and I put it back down. I come back to the bus, everybody cheering me. Hey, Tony, hey, you strong, you strong. Hey, now people are beginning to like me. I said, hey, this is cool. I said, I want to lift more than weight. So I get back to the reception and diagnostics center. The guy that was to my dorm, the guy that was in charge said, I think we found something you like to do. He said, we got some weights in the closet, nobody's using them. He said, you're a pretty good kid. We're gonna make you what's called a trustee. He said, your job is to make sure the other kids don't run away. Cause it had no fences or no gates or no bars. So every now and then we get a runaway. So they would wake up like, run away, run away. So we all had to jump up, put our clothes on, me the supervisor. But they needed a trustee because most of them supervisors couldn't run. It was old. But I was quick. I'd run in the woods, I'd get them, I'd bring them back, because we were always kids. So he said, we're going to make you a trustee. I said, oh, thank you. He said, as a trustee, you get special privileges. You can do things that other kids can't do. You're not going to be locked down in your cell all day long. And he said, I got some weights back in the back. I think he had like 200 pounds of weights back in the back. And in my damn time, he gave me 1 hour to do what I want. It was my time. I used to put the music on. We had them old 45 records there. They had tapes and all this stuff. The record was 45. I listened to what the guy sitting by the dock of the Only Red. I would listen to Only Red because that was the only record I had. So I listened to Only Red all the time, and I lift weights. And I started off. I used to do nothing but cleans and jerk. That was it. 'Cause to me, that was weightlifting. You pick it up off the ground, you bring it up to your chest, and you lift it up over your head. And that's all I did. And I put some more weight on, I lifted up to my chest and put it on my head. And I kept doing that until I got to a weight that I can't lift. I remember one day I put all the weight he had on there, which was 200 pounds. And I lift that and got it to here. And I pushed, didn't go. I dropped back down. I grabbed it again. I waited a while, grabbed it again. Push, didn't go up. Put it back down. Then I started getting real psyched up and started thinking. I got all fired up. I grabbed that 200 pounds, brought it to here, and popped it on my head. Put that weight down, and when I put it down, put it in too hard, I cracked the floor. So for a week, he wouldn't let me lift weights. But that pissed me off real bad. And so I got so mad, I said something about it. So then he locked me up for another week. So now I got 2 weeks where I can't lift weights. But that was my punishment. He said, Tony, if you act up, we're going to take your weights away. Finally, I left the reception and diagnostic center, and I went home. But my mother was not living in Clifton Forge no more. They had moved to Roanoke on 10th Street and Roar Avenue in Roanoke, Virginia. The house, I don't think, is there. They'll put a bridge there. There have been some changes. So this is my first time living in a big city. This country boy is in the big city, Roanoke, Virginia. So while I was in Roanoke, there was a guy that lived across the street. His name was Muchie. Muchie, what they called him, was a nickname. And he had a good build. He had a nice chest, no legs. He had a nice chest, no shoulder, and good arms. Just chest and arms. He was just chest and arms. So I go, wow, I like to look like that. So Muchie said, hey, you want to work out with me? So I said, yeah. Now this is what Muchie did. He went to the school. He took two 10-pound plates. He took a baton, a baton that, what they call it, Larry, the cheerleader used, baton?
Oh, twirling baton.
A twirling baton.
Yeah.
And he put the weights on and took tape and taped it so that weights don't fall off. And he would lay down on his back like this and do stiff arm pullovers until he can't do it no more. Then he would get up and he would do curls until he can't do no more. And he did that like every other day, and I started doing it with him. Finally, Munchen started going to a gym, and he gave me that set of weights. He gave me the baton with the weights, and I would sit in front of the mirror, and I would curl until my muscle is burning. I must do 100 curls, and I drop it, and I pick it back up, and I keep curling, keep curling, keep curling, keep curling. Well, it was only a baton and two 10-pound plates. Then one day, I was at this convenience store, and this guy walked up to me, and his name was Alfonso Johnson. And he said, "Hey, kid, you got some pretty good arm and chest on you." He said, "Why don't you go with me?" He said, I work at Walter Planner. He said, "But after I get off work," he said, "I go to the YMCA." I said, "What is a YMCA?" So I started going to the YMCA with Alfonso. And that's where I started to learn about like pull down. I mean, they had they didn't have a lot, but compared to a baton with 220 pounds, I was in heaven. They had the big 45-pound bar, the 45-pound plate. They had a bench. They had one bench that you could adjust where you could do inclines and flat. And they had a leg press that was horizontal. Is that horizontal go straight up and down or perpendicular?
Horizontals up and down.
Up and down. Now they're 45-degree angle to your leg prep, but this it was straight up and down. They had a lat pull down, but the lat pull down was a rope that came down and just put the plates on, and as you doing the pull down, that thing was swinging for you back and forth like that. So, and they had a big punch bag when you go in there and hit the punching bag. So I started lifting weights for Alfonso. One day I'm coming home, and this old man saw me, and he said something to me, and I said, "Hey, I'll kick your ass, old man. Don't you see these guns?" The old man said, "I know somebody that is half your side that kick your ass." And I said, "Well, who you got that is half my side that can kick my ass?" He said, "Come on and go with me." So he took me to Police Athletic League. It was a boxing gym. So I get in the ring with this kid. I was probably at that time about 200 pounds of muscles. This kid was probably, oh my goodness, maybe 150, 160 pounds. Kid beat the shit out of me. I couldn't hit him. Every time I struck, he boom, 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 boom. I said, boom, 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 boom. So I said, hey, I got to learn that. So then I got into boxing. Well, Leon, later on, I hadn't got to that yet. When I get to the school, but I ain't got to high school yet. I'm still at James Madison school. Like I said, I went to Hurt Park at first as a kid. That's where I started wrestling at, amateur wrestling. I got into boxing a little bit, all that stuff right about when I was a young kid. And then later on, I got involved with the weightlifting. I went from 185 pounds up to 225 pounds. And there was a lot of people, and I want to make sure that I mention these people before I get to talking too much. One of the people that I'd like to thank right now that helped me out uh, was Alfonso. Because Alfonso the one that introduced me to the gym. I can't remember the retired police officer name, and I apologize for that, who got me involved in boxing. But my wrestling coach was Leon Bridge uh, from Patrick Henry. My wrestling coach for Jefferson High School, I want to apologize, I can't remember his name, but I remember Leon Bridge. Uh, the guy that got me started in powerlifting is a guy by the name of Randy Booth. We were working out in the gym one day, and the guy did 225. And I told Randy, I want to do that one day. So one day I did 225. I couldn't wait for Randy to come in the gym so I could tell him about it. And my bench kept going up and up and up. So finally one day, Randy came and said, Tony, what'd you do on Saturday? I said, well, I'm not doing anything. He said, why wouldn't you go with us? I said, where y'all going? They said, we're going to Hopewell, Virginia. Hopewell, Virginia. It's a powerlifting meet. Now, back in them days, they had powerlifting in the morning. They had arm wrestling at midday. And then they had a bodybuilding contest that night. Everything was AAU, Amateur Athletic Union. There was no MPC, no none of that. All this stuff you see now wasn't even existing. Everything dealing with sport was AAU, AAU, AAU. That was it. So I went to my first. I was 220 pounds. I lifted the 220-pound class. My first powerlifting meet, I did 350 pounds on the bench. I squatted 400 and I deadlifted 400. Then I participated, believe it or not, in the arm wrestling, and I won that. So I came home with 2 trophies. This is where I learned respect from. This is my first contest. Now it costs money to enter these contests. Randy Booth paid for the contest. Randy Booth drove me. It was his car. Now I don't know how far it is from Roanoke to Hopewell. I want to estimate it's probably Roanoke to Hopewell, Virginia. Larry's gonna tell me in a minute. This guy paid for the gas, paid for the food, paid for everything. Well, I'm sitting in the car and I'm bragging about what I got. Randy don't say nothing. He said, "Well, we happy for you, kid. We happy you did good." So he take me on another competition.
350 miles round trip.
350 miles. This guy drove me. Never asked for a quarter. Drove me 350 miles round trip. Paid for everything. Randy Booth. Randy Booth is his name. And then one day, me and Randy went to a contest, and unfortunately for Randy and the other 2 guys, they didn't win no trophies. This was the same time when I bench pressed 480 pounds, I squatted 450, and I deadlift 600. I won the arm wrestling title, and the contest that I won, I came up. The guy went to Vegas and became world champion, but I beat him in Virginia, and I even got a book later on. I will show y'all his picture and everything. I can't remember his name, but luckily somebody sent me the book. It was the longest arm wrestling match went about 15 or 20 minutes. I just wouldn't give up, so I won that. Then I went on stage and became teenage Mr. Virginia. I had 3 trophies. So Randy and the other 2 guys, they didn't do too well. So I'm sitting there once in a while, and I said, "Oh shoot, I got to complain about something. I can't remember what the hell I complained about." And Randy turned to me and said, "Tony, how many trophies you see in this car?" I said, "3." He said, "How many people you see in this car?" I said, "4." He said, "Who the trophy belong to?" I said, "Me." He said, "You understand why we don't want to hear your bitching?" I go, "Oh, here I got 3 trophies. Cost me nothing. Randy paid for the gas, paid for the food, paid for me to enter the contest. And I'm complaining because I want to get home early. Come on, Randy, come on. I can't believe I done that. That's how stupid. My mother had an old saying, youth is wasted on the young. At that time, I wasted all my youth being stupid. And so then I really, really felt bad. I never forgot that night. But I learned a lesson. There's always somebody doing worse. What I should have been doing, instead of bragging about how good I look, how strong I am, how great I am, what I should have been doing is trying to cheer up the people that came home with nothing. You know, I should have been giving them encouragement. But as a young man, I know that now. I didn't know that then. But anyway, I owe a lot to Randy Booth. That's my story with Randy Booth and Alfonso Johnson. Alfonso took me to the gym. Randy got me started in powerlifting. And then I met this other gentleman uh, named Steve Aegis. And he got me involved in bodybuilding. And that's when I became Mr. Virginia. And I competed in bodybuilding contest, but he got me involved in bodybuilding. But going back, all the way back, before Randy, before Steve Aegis, there was a guy called Jackie Cooper. Now, Jackie was only about 5'7", maybe, he was not a very tall guy, but he had like 19, 20-inch arms, tremendous tricep. where he wrote my first bodybuilding routine. And the routine that Jackie Cooper gave me, I use that routine right now today. So anybody want to say who trained Tony Atlas, gave him his first routine was a guy named Jackie Cooper. And these are all people I met in Roanoke, Virginia. Now, Roanoke and being black, you have to have a reputation. Some guys had a reputation for being tough. Other guys had a reputation of being lovers, or you had a nice ride. But you have to have something that really made people to look up to. You know, we didn't have a lot of people to look up as a black person back in them days. That's why everybody loved Muhammad Ali, because he was just somebody everybody, could look up to. And Martin Luther King. So these were people, Martin Luther King, Muhammad Ali, because they kind of show us that we did not have to stay down, that we could build ourselves up. We see Ali become the world champion. I mean, we say world champion, that means there's nobody but him. When we see Martin Luther King and all the love and support he got from not just black America, but all America, of all ethnic groups. He was liked and respected by all group of people, not just one, which made all of us want to, really be like Martin Luther King and there was my hero, Martin Luther King and Muhammad Ali, during that time. So growing up in Roanoke gave me the opportunity to be like them, to be like Martin Luther King, to be like Muhammad Ali, to make something out of myself. So my whole life was, I didn't hang out on the corner uh, with other people. I got lucky. When I was 15, my mother couldn't support me no more, and I knew that. She didn't kick me out the house or nothing, but I figured I was big enough. I'm 15 years old. I'm big enough to get on my own. So I met this woman named Loretta Mize. Now I was 15, but I was a virgin. I ain't know nothing about no sex. I knew how to box. I knew how to wrestle. I knew how to lift weights. I ain't know nothing about that bedroom. Now, like I say, what I'm gonna say, I hope y'all don't get mad at me, but I gotta tell it the way it worked. So Loretta used to always run out because I used to walk around with my shirt off to show off my muscles. And she always used to run off. She didn't know how old I was because I was at that time I was 6 foot 2, which is what I am now, 6'2". I weighed about 220 pounds, with a 29-inch waist. And at that time, 19 or 20-inch arms. There was very few guys looked like me. So Loretta seduced me. So she called me in the house and she said, "Have you ever been with a woman?" I go, "No." She said, "Would you like to?" I go, "Yeah." So she lay down on that couch. I remember now. She had no underclothes on. And she pulled that dress up. Scared the shit out of me. I took off running down the street. My brother Noel saw me. No, Charles. Charles saw me. "What's wrong with you? You act like you saw a ghost." I said, "Worse than a ghost." He said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Man, I'm going to go to jail. Somebody's going to go to jail." He said, What are you talking about?" Now, I never seen a woman naked until I was 15. I said, "Somebody don't cut this woman between the legs. She got this big old cut between the legs." He said, "You know what that is?" I said, "No." Well, I said, "What is this? Is this an injury or something?" He said, "No." I thought the girl hurt herself or something. I never saw that before. So I took off running. So now my brother, now he's mad at me. I'm wondering why he's mad. I'm the one that had the bad experience. He said, "Don't you know what that is?" So he told, I'm not going to say it on thing, but he told me the P word. He said, "That's," I said, "Oh, that's what that is." I said, "Boy, that's an ugly damn thing. I never saw nothing like that before." He said, "But it feel real good, Tony." I said, "Well, as long as I don't have to look at it no more, I don't want to look at that no more." So I said, I'm sweating and everything. I'm scared to go back to the house. So he said, look, if you don't go back, everybody gonna think you gay because she gonna tell everybody you ran away. You don't run away from the P. You know, you get that P. You get that P, man. Said, man, you don't want to be no punk. You don't be no punk. Go back and get that P, man, before you tell everybody you ran away. I said, oh, why? You come with me? He said, no, you don't need me to do that.
Did he tell you how to do
Yeah.
it?
No, he didn't.
No, he just told
Yeah.
you. Okay.
Yeah. So I get with Lorella. I said, okay, I'm back. She said, yeah, I see. She said, well, do you want to spend the night or not? She said, you're not going to run out on me no more. I go, no, I'm not going to run. I said, I'm ready. I'm ready. So then she taught me the ways of love making, you know. She had an old saying, you got to lick it before you stick it. And that was her saying. And then she said, that's how you start off. You have to make the love, you know, the kissing, the hugging, and all that stuff. And I'm sitting there, well, when I get to stick it, you know. That's what I was thinking about. Because I would have found out what felt so good. I mean, I never stuck nothing my whole life. So finally I got on top and, oh boy.
You pump?
Oh boy.
Two pump?
No.
Okay.
She called me, she said, the only way I'm gonna have a baby and have a sweat baby. I could go for hours at that day. I mean, she had to push me off. So I was like riding a horse or something. Brother. This is freaking great. So I went and got all my clothes. Mom, I got a place to stay. Where you going, boy? I got a place to stay. Now my mother, which was strange, she hated the relationship. See, I was 15. Lorella was 38 with 5 kids.
Oh.
And I always thought that my mother didn't like that because of the age difference. But then one day I asked her, I said, why you don't like Loretta? She said, well, boy, I believe in God. And you, I said, because she's too old for me? She said, oh, age got nothing to do. Your father was much older than me. My dad was. He was like 20 years older than my mom. So she didn't, it wasn't age. She said, y'all living in sin. I am living in sin. She said, you're not married. Then she told me this story about this lady. She was unmarried, and she was having sex with other men. And they were going to stone her. They were going to throw stones at her. And Jesus come along, and he said, he who is without sin cast the first stone. So nobody stoned her. Then he turned to the lady, whoever she was. Anybody that know the Bible or Christian, we know that. He told her, go and sin no more. So my mother believed that if you live together and you're engaging in sex, that was a sin because of that story she read us. So me and Loretta, we moved in, and it worked out great for me because she was able to feed me. I was working at the YMCA. Then I met these guys named Clint and Wayne Barlow, and they was involved with the TAP program, Total Action Against Poverty, and they got me involved in. So Alfonso got me involved in the gym. I met Jackie Cooper, Randy Booth, and Steve Agent to help me to develop my physique. And I had Loretta that fed me and put a roof on my head and taught me how to, you gotta lick it before you stick it. So she taught me that, and later on, women that, I'm not trying to brag, but they say they like that away. So it worked. So, if you want to learn how to do something, ask a woman. She will tell you if you're doing a good job or not. Unless she don't care about it, then she tell you you're doing great when you know you did a lousy job. So, but enough of that. Anyway, getting back to these people. So without these guys, I would have never developed my physique. Jackie Cooper, Alfonso Johnson, Randy Booth, Steve Ages. These are guys that helped develop Tony Athlete physique before the wrestling world saw me. So one day, me and Fonzo, we was at the gym. Now I may go back to a story, but I'm trying to move ahead as much as I can. I may go back and forth, but Tony ain't all there anyway. So I did very well in wrestling, won the district and stuff like that, and was the first person for Petron High School to qualify for the state. So that made me proud. By the time I was 19, I held every weightlifting title, powerlifting title. I had a clean and jerk at 19 of 350 pounds. I almost got 400, but the guy didn't give it to me. So I set a record in weightlifting, powerlifting, and bodybuilding all the time that I was 15. Well, one day I was going to the Y. Well, let me get back to Wayne Ballard and Clint. Wayne and Clint. Wayne is a minister now, and Clint, and then there was Alvin Nash, who was a karate expert, who was another person that have a lot to do with my childhood. And these guys helped me. I work at the swimming pool as a lifeguard with Wayne and Clint. And then Wayne got me, Clint Barlow got me involved with the TAP program, where the city bought me a little gym where I could train people. And I got my respect in Roanoke for just tangling with two people. I want to fight two people. One was Harold Runners. Harold Runners was the baddest SOB you ever want to fight. He was a stone street fighter. The police used to come and get Harold. Back in the older days, they would take their gun off, put it in the car, and they would fight you. That's the older days. They had the riding hammers on. Harold would hit them and crack the hammer. That's how hard he hit. He was the hardest hitting man I ever met in my life. Well, one day Harold came up to me and said, "Hey, I hear you won that championship in that wrestling. Let me see what you got." So me and him in Hurt Park, we got a tussling in the park. There was no punches thrown because Harold would knock your freaking head off. I never seen, he had a hit like Mike Tyson. So Harold couldn't take me down. So then he backed off because he didn't want me to take him down. So he said, "I feel sorry for anybody to grab a hold of you and didn't know how strong you are." Then I met this other guy named Buddy Ball. The reason they call him Buddy Ball, these are all street fighters I grew up with. His name was Buddy Ball. The reason they call him Buddy Ball because he was fat as a kid, but he started losing weight, and it turned into what they used to believe turned the fat into muscle. You can't turn fat into muscle. What it is, you shrink muscle cell, you shrink a fat cell, you increase muscle cell. But he didn't know that then. I didn't either. So I thought you could turn fat into muscle. And I hear stories about him hitting a guy. He hit one guy so hard because he was so strong, they knocked him out of his shoes. The guy fell over here. The shoes never moved. That's how hard some of these guys hit. They were street fighters. Then there was, get back to Harold Runner. Harold got in a fight with a guy one time. The guy shot Harold 5 times in the stomach. Harold got out the hospital before the guy that shot him did. He beat the guy so bad, the guy was in the hospital after Harold got out before he did. Harold Runner. You go around Roanoke, all the old time and tell you about Harold Runner. Then there was Buck Nelson, who was another good street fighter. And I remember people used to tell me that Buck Nelson is the only guy that he fight better when he drunk than he was sober. So he was a hell of a street fighter. And then a guy that came out to be pretty much my first father image I have. His name was J.C. Williams. And he was a bootlegger, and he used to be a mechanic, but a car fell on him. And he retired from being a mechanic and became a bootlegger. He took me hunting, taught me how to hunt, taught me how to fish, and supported me in everything I did. His name was J.C. Williams. He supported me a great deal in my growing up time. So, J.C. For people to hear this, if y'all don't know J.C. J.C. was a woman man. I mean, women like him. Had his curly hair. They put a little water in it and slick it back. Looked like he had a Gerald curl, but that was just his hair. Because a lot of blacks was mixed with other races. So I'm sure J.C. was mixed too. I saw J.C. get in a fight one time. This young kid started calling him old man. J.C. was 55 years old at the time. And the kid kept messing with the kid about 25. He was on a boxing team. He used to carry these boxing gloves around his neck. Thought he was tough. So he got to mess with JC. And he told JC, come on. JC got tired of him and said, "Look, come on outside. Let me show what an old man could do to your ass." And this old man beat the shit out of this kid. So I said, "Hey, JC, can you teach me what you did?" So I learned some stuff from JC. Harold Runner taught me a few things about street fighting. Fighting was natural. When we didn't, we would slap box. You know, we slap box. But that's how we kill the time of day. Sometimes we see a big mountain of dirt. One kid would run up the hill and say, "I'm king of the mountain." Now it's our job to run up and throw him off. And then the last kid up on the hill, "Now I'm king of the mountain." So these were like things we did.
What were the 2 fights you got into? You didn't say that.
With who?
You said only 2 fights. Who were they with?
No, when I tussled with Harold Runners,
Okay.
Harold told everybody how strong I was.
Right.
The other guy was Killer Gorilla Muller. We was at the park one time, me and Wayne Holland. He said, "Hey, I hear you pretty good at that wrestling." And before he knew what was going on, I had him down on the ground in front of everybody. Everybody was scared of Killer Muller. He was the wrestling coach for William Fleming High School. And he got his name Killer Gorilla because back they had a zoo where they had this monkey or chimpanzee, whatever it was. And you get in there, you wrestle. They taught this thing how to wrestle. You wrestle him. And if you stay in there a certain length of time, you get money. Where Killer Muller got in there, and he almost killed that damn monkey. And the guy was hollering, "Get him out of there, he's killing my monkey, he's gonna kill my monkey." So the name kind of stuck, Killer Gorilla, because he got in the cage and beat up a chimpanzee, which we thought was a gorilla. They told it was a gorilla, but when I look back on it, no, it probably was a chimpanzee. I doubt if he could
Gorillas
have done
are
that.
6, 7 feet tall.
Yeah, they're gonna run over and rip his butt out. But there were people in my life that guide my decision. And lucky for me that I met Alfonso. Lucky for me that I met Randy Booth. Lucky for me I met Jackie Cooper. Lucky for me I met Steve Agent. Lucky for me I met Loretta Mize. Lucky for me I met Clint Barlow and Wayne Holland. Because when I look back on it, all these people was guiding me. And I didn't know it then. They was guiding me into being something good. Uh, uh, Something good for that they could look up to. Uh, Later on, as you all know, as I know, that I let a lot of people down in one respect, but in the same respect, uh, building people up. Because they had a part in the making of me. My mother, Miss Beatrice Jane, I would say was the toughest woman I ever met in my life. One day we walking down the street, and this guy slapped my mother on the butt. My mother said, "You can't stand over there." She turned to the guy, said, "You're too high, I can't go over you. You're too low, I can't go under you. You're too wide, I can't go around you. So I guess I just have to go through you." Bam! Knocked him out. Knocked him the effing out with one freaking punch. The freaking blood is. He spit out a tooth. The blood shot in the freaking air. My mother put the boots to his butt, and she said, "Now you boys, come on here." Big B. And we go, "Why? Did you see what mom did? Did you see what mom did?" My brother said, "You boys shut up before you make mom mad."
Yeah.
We were scared to make my mother mad. My mother, when she got mad, the white part of her eye would turn bloodshot red. But there was something my mother did that used to break my heart even today. She would come home at night after a long day's work. She would throw herself on the bed, and this is what she would say. "Oh, take me, Jesus. Take me, take me, take me. Please, dear Lord, take me, take me, take me. Take me, Jesus." And we used to cry, and we run over and try to comfort her. My mother had it rough. It was rough for her to raise us kids, and she worked the same hours every week, but her check never changed. Because back then they didn't have what they call minimum wage. They gave you what they can. Or it was horse trading. My mother could work all day, and they give her a basket of tomatoes. You know, they give her some tomatoes after working all freaking day. So it was rough upbringing, but it made us humble. I forgot a lot of my teaching along the way. I had to hit rock bottom, but I want to tell y'all what it was like for me raising up in Clifton Forge, Lowmore, Covington, and Roanoke. There's a lot more to say about Roanoke, but before I get into it, I wanted to kind of mention them people names that I've already told y'all: Randy Booth and Jackie Cooper, Steve Ages, Alfonso Johnson, most definitely Alfonso. I mean, it wasn't for Alfonso, I would have never went to a gym. I mean, he took me to jail. Wasn't for JC, I would have ended up in jail. Long, long time ago. He was the first father figure I ever had in my life. Every kid need a father figure, you know. And I was just so blessed that the father figure that the people that inspired me was not criminals or you know people that you know what I'm trying to say. Them type of people. I was lucky to always be around somebody uh, that that was going somewhere, that wanted to help me to go somewhere, and wasn't looking for nothing in return. Even when I made money, I tried to give Jackie Cooper and them guys money. Tony, no. They said just your friendship and your acknowledgement is enough. And they never asked me that. So if they got any family out there, uh, you know. And there was a Oriental girl I was in love with. I'm gonna think of her name pretty soon. She was in my yearbook. Oh, I did not like that girl. She was gorgeous. Had that long black hair come all the way down to there. Oh, was she
So
pretty?
Tony, we're about done today.
Okay.
Now,
But she was pretty though.
that's a teaser for next time.
Yeah.
All right, what are we going to talk about next time?
Well, we're going to finish off with Roanoke because, as y'all all know, Roanoke is where I got my start at as a professional wrestler. And I want to talk about some of the great wrestlers that helped create Tony Atlas so y'all can understand me more. People like George and Sandy Scott, Klondike Bill, Wahoo McDaniel. These are people that should not be forgotten.
Blackjack Mulligan.
Blackjack Mulligan. And these are people that should not be forgotten. And we all know Ric Flair. He was around during that time, but without Wahoo and without Johnny Valentine. Now, Johnny Valentine, he was the guy that created uh, Mid-Atlantic Wrestling. He was the guy that created WCW. I mean, his son Greg Valentine was a great wrestler, but y'all gotta hear about Johnny. 6'4", 275 pounds, and we hit you and knock you in the middle of next week. But he wanted you to return the favor to him. I mean, you talk about tough. He was tough. Johnny Valentine. You're gonna hear about Johnny. You're gonna hear about the Johnny Weaver. You're gonna hear about the Flan Scott brother and all the wonderful people that helped me in my wrestling, and a little bit more about people that helped me before I became a wrestler. Thank you so much.
We'll check you out next week on Tuesdays with Tony.